Hello, my name is Caitlin Puckett, and today I'm going to be discussing mental health courts. One of the reasons I decided to use this topic for my paper is because the large amount of people within the criminal justice system that actually do have a mental illness. There are anywhere from 6 to 36% of individuals within the United States jails and prisons that have a serious mental illness. Mental illness can play a part in facilitating the revolving door within the criminal justice system. By helping treat these individuals, we have the ability to potentially decrease that revolving door. Utilizing mental health courts help individuals with mental illnesses by using treatment instead of incarceration. Some of the background on that stems from the creation of therapeutic jurisprudence. Therapeutic jurisprudence is a theoretical concept that was developed by Wexler and Winnick, and it is the study of the role of law as a therapeutic agent. This is able to succeed by looking at it and understanding that therapeutic and anti-therapeutic consequences of an individual are being affected by those that they come in contact with in the criminal justice system. By negating as many of those anti-therapeutic consequences as possible, we have the potential to actually promote psychological functioning and mental health. This can work to reduce a variety of societal problems like drug abuse, delinquency, sexual violence, and family violence as well. This concept and problem-solving courts come together to actually help treat offenders versus putting them through traditional criminal courts and into incarceration. One of the main courts that was created in response to this was drug courts. And drug courts have seen such an overwhelming increase in recidivism, increase in helping recidivism rates. They have been shown to work. These problem-solving courts focus on what is the root cause of criminal behavior, and they help develop a treatment plan that fits each individual offender's needs. Once the drug courts were created and they were shown to actually be effective in reducing recidivism rates, there were many other courts created like it. For example, there were domestic violence courts, veteran treatment courts, and tribal courts. The one today we're going to talk about again are mental health courts. These were created for the lack of treatment options for offenders with mental illness. The first one was created in 1997, and today there are more than 300 in the United States. Each process varies by state, as well as the individuals involved vary by states. These programs allow for offenders to get the treatment that they need, no matter their charge, their diagnoses, or any co-occurring problems like substance abuse. Mental health courts have the ability to reduce recidivism and reduce cost. There have been many studies that support these statements. One of the ways that they can reduce recidivism is by utilizing incentives. Mental health courts, as well as most other problem-solving courts, are completely voluntary. An individual does not have to participate if they don't want to. So by utilizing incentives, we can increase participation by offering incentives that can eventually help the offender. For example, there are incentives that lead to exclusive resources for that individual, to even having their charges dropped, and in cases of felonies, they can actually have those felony charges dropped down to misdemeanors. And this helps because there has been research to back up the statement that these help. These can help by shaping long-term behaviors. These incentives motivate offenders to fulfill court obligations. And there is a link between the offer of incentives to the perception of the offender's perception of the fairness or procedural justice in court. Earlier this semester, we discussed the procedural justice in class, and we found that individuals respond better to the criminal justice system when they feel that they are treated fairly. And that's the same for mental health courts. When you've got an individual who's participating in a court and they feel that they're coerced into participating, instead of feeling like they have a choice and that they're feeling like they are being treated fairly, that's going to make them not want to complete the program or even participate. But it's actually shown that when there is a lower perceived level of coercion and there is a more perceived level of fairness, participants are more likely to complete the program, which in turn will help their recidivism rates, because there's been research that shows that successful completion of the program will actually decrease recidivism. Another way is that individuals who complete the program continually have that reduced recidivism rate. Most offenders will offend within 2 years of completing the program, but there's been research to show that individuals who successfully complete the program had a rearrest rate half that of defendants in traditional criminal courts. This shows that completing these and being moved out of these courts when these courts are a benefit to you actually helps reduce your recidivism and gets the individual the help that they need to basically stop offending because of their mental illness. There have been studies that have researched 2 or more years after exiting the mental health court. All of these studies show that there is a rearrest rate that is significantly lower than offenders with mental illness in traditional criminal courts. Therefore, this has been an effective way at reducing recidivism within criminal courts. The next one that I'm going to discuss is the reducing of cost. There have been not many studies done on the effects of these in relation to cost, but one study that I found broke it down into 3 different sections. They've got the successful completers, the unsuccessful non-completers, and the comparison group. The comparison groups are individuals who chose not to participate in mental health courts and just stayed in traditional health courts. As you can see, the cost of the program for successful completers is $17,113 compared to the comparison group that is $39,978. There is a $22,866 difference between successful completers and the comparison group. There's not much a difference between unsuccessful completers because they just ended back up in the traditional court system and had to go through all of that. This shows that these mental health courts can actually reduce the cost when you are looking at treating offenders and actually getting them to not reoffend. In conclusion, these show that there are successful in reducing recidivism, successful in reducing cost, and they are a viable alternative to criminal courts. Therefore, these should be implemented at a larger scale, and we can look into utilizing problem-solving courts as viable alternatives to criminal court cases when necessary. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to comment.